Tucker, can I just say one quick thing, because this is something that will serve you and your fellow hosts on Fox. Her name is pronounced comma, like the punctuation mark la, Kamala. Okay? Seriously, I've heard every sort of bastardization
so
of
what?
that. That's how it is, Kamala.
Okay.
Well,
but
I think it's out of respect for somebody who's going to be on the national ticket. Pronouncing her name right is actually not, it's kind of a
So
bare
I'm
minimum.
disrespecting her by mispronouncing her name unintentionally. So it begins. You're not allowed to criticize Kamala Harris or Kamala Harris or whatever because Kamala Harris.
Whatever.
Okay, look, I unintentionally mispronounced her name, but I love the idea that she's immune from criticism. So let me restate my question, because on this show, nobody in power is immune from criticism. Our political leaders must be held to account. That's our job.
A few years later.
Politician that has a set of instincts, right? Donald Trump, totally, I give you that he's flip-flopped. He's had a set of instincts around things like trade for decades, right? He long before he was in politics. Biden, he's flip-flopped too. Biden has had instincts around foreign policy for decades, right? What are Kamala's instincts? I literally don't know. She was against the death penalty. She was for the death penalty.
You don't know Donald Trump's instincts.
Yes, I do. On trade, on foreign policy.
You can't read his mind. None of us can.
You read the instincts by a pattern over a lifetime.
And there is a pattern.
For Trump, there's patterns on trade.
That I say
China.
whatever I need to say in that moment
in
order to get people's support. That's what Donald Trump has done over and over and over again.
Can we also call her vice president? You guys are speaking about her so carefully and casually, as if you know her, and I think she deserves the respect. And if we continue,
I don't always say President Biden when I say Biden.
If we continue in the media to just call her Kamala or whatever name you just called her, it sends a message of lack of respect. And so I think she needs the title, and I think she deserves the respect.
Into it. It's not an intended
well,
message.
when you say her name wrong, it's definitely a
flip-flops. Let's just remember that for most of his life, Donald Trump was a Democrat that contributed generously to Democrat candidates like Kamala Harris and like Nancy Pelosi.
Which is why when he pivots to the Senate.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, I gotta tell you guys, the Kamala Harris stands are probably the most annoying people in the country right now. It's only been a week of Kamala Harris being the presumptive Democrat nominee, and I am annoyed as hell by these people and the media who constantly defend Kamala Harris and to act like she's the greatest thing to walk on God's green earth, even though just a few months ago, this same media was not very confident that Kamala Harris could take over for Joe Biden. A lot of people were questioning whether or not she was qualified to be vice president, okay? But the narrative has changed because they're all colluding with one another in an attempt to affect the outcome of the 2024 election in Kamala Harris's and the Democrat Party's favor. So the GOP has essentially been handicapped to the point where you can't say anything about Kamala Harris that can be deemed negative, right? You can't even pronounce her name incorrectly without somebody saying that is racist.
And I've heard from inside Republican circles and right-wing media that the hate campaign against Kamala Harris has begun. You'll notice they purposefully pronounce her name wrong. They say Kamala. They do it all the time. It is on purpose. But the talk is to start that hate campaign and get it going and start it churning.
Flashback.
City and state leaders. But as Kamala said, we're all closely monitoring the storms.
You cannot talk about Kamala Harris without putting the official title on her name. You have to call her Vice President Kamala Harris. But yet, you can freely call former President Trump Donald Trump, and none of these people will have a problem with it, right? You guys noticed in that first clip how Creed Champion got so triggered by Coleman Hughes calling Kamala Harris, but yet Ana Navarro in the next sentence says, well, Donald Trump something, okay? And she had no issues with it, right? No pushback against the fact that there's never a proper title used when people are referring to the former president, Donald Trump, but yet when it comes to Kamala Harris, though, oh, you have to use all the proper titles or it's disrespectful. But again, nobody cares about the disrespect towards Trump. Again, you guys see how this works, okay? You see what's happening here. This is what I'm talking about here, guys, okay? They can call Trump Hitler. They can say whatever they want about Trump, but if you say anything that they deem to be slightly disrespectful towards Kamala Harris, they're losing their minds, okay? And that's what's going to happen here on CNN in this conversation between Bakari Sellers and David Urban, who is a Republican political strategist. And he's going to get upset when this guy, David Urban, mispronounces Kamala Harris's name, and then he's going to boohoo, whine, and cry about the things that the GOP is saying about Kamala Harris. Okay, so I want to talk about it, but before we get into it, we have to have a word from the sponsor of this video, Morgan & Morgan. Guys, I've been injured in a motor vehicle accident. You've probably been injured in a motor vehicle accident, or somebody that you know, okay? We all have somebody that we know, whether it be ourselves or somebody else, that has been injured. And sometimes that injury can be worth millions of dollars. And this is why the sponsor of today's video is Morgan & Morgan, who wants to let you know that they do not settle for lowball offers, because oftentimes that is exactly what insurance companies try to do to clients. But Morgan & Morgan will fight to get you what you deserve if you become their client. All law firms are not the same, and Morgan & Morgan is the biggest for a reason. They have won a lot, and it only takes a few minutes to see if you have a case. And as America's largest injury law firm, Morgan & Morgan is ready and prepared to take on insurance companies of every size. If you are in an accident or injured in any way, you should know how to protect your rights. Don't overthink it. Take actions to protect your rights today. For example, they have achieved significant verdicts in the past couple of months for victims involved in life-altering car crashes. They had a $12 million settlement out in Florida, 34 times the insurance offer, and $26 million out in Philadelphia, which is 40 times the highest insurance offer. And the best part is that the fee is absolutely free unless you win. If you've ever got seriously injured, your case could be worth millions, and you are just a few clicks away from potentially changing your life. And it is so easy. You can start your claim today with Morgan & Morgan at www.forthepeople.com/blackconservative, which is the special link in the description, or you can scan the QR code that you see on the screen in order to get started.
About the record, Bakari, listen, I'm cool with the t-shirt, just like you said. Let's have the strategy, okay? Let's have the strategy. Let's focus on Kamala Harris's record. She ran for president before and ran miserably. Her own campaign staff said, listen, we quit. This is the worst run campaign ever. I've been involved in 3 campaigns, or state director of 3 campaigns. I've never been treated or seen staff treated worse than any campaign. She quit. The editor of the Sacramento Bee, who worked for Kamala Harris previously, said, if you can't run a campaign, how do you expect to run the country? When you look at her words, we don't have to guess what she's going to run on. We can just look at her own words. And her positions are incredibly extreme. I agree with Bakari. Listen, I don't want to attack Kamala Harris as an individual. Let's look at the policies. Let's have a debate about policy.
Stop.
Okay, good. Good. Kamala.
David, you're a brilliant man.
How am I pronouncing it, Bakari?
That's my point exactly. That's my no.
Tell me, buddy.
That's my point exactly. The fact is, her name is Kamala. But if you call a woman,
Kamala,
who is
Kamala Harris, okay, I'm saying
a DEI hire.
Wrong, Bakari.
Wrong.
No,
guys. First of all, let's not talk over each other because nobody hears.
Yeah, Bakari, I'm talking about, and you know me, and shame on you, Bakari, because you know me better than that. So shame on you. I'm saying let's talk about her. Let's talk about her record, which she calls about when she asked for mandatory gun buybacks. Says we're going to have mandatory. When she says I'm going to do away with private insurance. When she says people in Pennsylvania, I'm banning fracking, and my plan for you is to let you transition to get another job. Those are her words. We should focus on those things, not who she is.
Okay.
Yeah, so again, they don't want to focus on who she is, okay? Because if they focus on who she is, then she'll lose, right? And this is, again, the psyop from the mainstream liberal media that's happening right now. They want to talk about everything except her actual policies, and they're doing that for a reason, okay? In fact, if you talk about Kamala's policies, or if you say, hey, I'm not sure about vote for Kamala, I want to learn more about her and what she believes, they're going to tell you to shut up and get in line, right? Because Orange Man evil, he bad, okay? Hitler about to get back in the White House. So therefore, you don't need to know Kamala Harris's stance on immigration or inflation or the economy or crime. You don't need to know her stance on any of this stuff, right? You don't need to know that she wants to eliminate private health insurance in this country and force people to depend on the government for health care. You don't need to know all of that, okay? You don't need to know that. All you need to know is how to pronounce her name correctly. That's if you don't, then that's an act of bigotry, right? Again, Bakari Sellers, out of all the things that guy said, what he focused on was the fact that this guy mispronounced her name. Notice how he had no rebuttal for what he said in regards to the issues, the policies, and the criticisms of how Kamala Harris runs a campaign and her leadership ability, her ability to run the country, because he can't dispute that. So when you can't dispute that, what you do is that you distract by getting fake upset about this dude mispronouncing her name.
Bakari, I do want to go to you because you're pointing out the mispronouncing the name, which maybe was a slip from David, but is something that David, Trump and everybody, many do.
Yeah, we're going to text after this. I absolutely love David Urban, so that's neither here nor there. But my point is simply this. When you call a woman who is this accomplished a DEI hire, right? When you utilize those slurs, when you call her a bum, and I love Thomas Friedman's just saying that half the country is offended. My point to you, David, is don't you believe that women in this country are equally offended? Because there are women right now who don't get an opportunity to choose what they want to do with their body. There are women right now in this country who have
let's not get back and forth between you guys. So Bakari, finish because I actually want to go to Ashley.
Briefly, and Ashley is definitely more suited to this than both David and I. But I would just say that there are women in this country who have different names, who get mispronounced often. And all I'm trying to do is level set and have a level of respect for Kamala Harris, the same level of respect for Kamala Harris that you and I have for each other, David. So that's my only point.
Amazing. Amazing. You know, it's funny how when it comes to conversations about Trump, they never consider the respect that they're putting on former President Trump's name. They never consider that, right? They never try to check anybody that is openly disrespecting the former president of the United States. But they want to check you for disrespecting Kamala Harris by calling her a bum. So now all of a sudden you can't call Kamala a bum, which, by the way, is not nearly as bad as calling somebody Hitler or white supremacist, okay, or the Antichrist, or all the things that these people call Trump in the media, right? Not nearly as bad, but if you call Kamala a bum, that's too far. So again, I want you guys to understand how this works. They say, well, you can't call Kamala Harris a DEI hire because that's offensive. She's too accomplished as a black woman, even though Joe Biden said that she represents the DEI agenda, that he made her vice president because of DEI. This is what Joe Biden said, but apparently repeating what Joe Biden said is racist and offensive. So again, what happens when Republicans try to soften the tone, right? Because calling her a bum is basically just another form of essentially saying that, hey, she's not qualified, or that she is not very successful at her job and what she's doing. It's just another way of saying that, right? It's just another way of levying criticisms of Kamala Harris's competence, okay? They say, well, you can't do that either. You can't do that either. So again, we've already seen this 1,000 times, guys. This liberal black woman right here is the same woman that got upset just a few days ago on CNN when a Republican strategist or commentator came on and said that Kamala Harris is incompetent. She said, oh, no, you can't call a black woman incompetent. So again, that's what's happening here, folks. They literally are silencing criticism of Kamala Harris. You cannot say anything about her at all, okay? That is a form of criticism. And this is why I get so annoyed by Republicans that are folding to the nonsense, talking about, oh, well, we need to soften our language because of what women might think. Well, first and foremost, they're trying to tell you what women think. They don't actually know what women think. They're just saying that, well, women are going to get offended by all these attacks against Kamala. But do these people actually really know that? No, what they're trying to do is that they're trying to manufacture consent, which is that, oh, well, if you attack Kamala and question her competence, right? If you levy substantive criticisms against Kamala Harris in regards to her judgment, her ability to do the job, then women are going to get offended. And again, they're not saying this because they know this. They're saying this because they want it to be true, right? They're trying to engineer it to be true. They're telling women, hey, you should be offended by what Republicans are saying. Not because it's actually offensive, but because we just don't want criticisms of Kamala Harris. Which, again, is hilarious because these are the same people that tell us that, hey, men and women are equal. And that a woman can do anything that a man can do. And that men and women should be held to the same standards, except anytime a woman is running against a man or trying to be in a position that is traditionally held by men, all of a sudden now women aren't held to the same standards, right? Again, it's amazing how that works. These people claim they want to be treated equally until they're actually treated equally. Because we all know that if Kamala Harris was a man, nobody would be boohoo whining and crying about the attacks against her. Right? Everybody would just assume as a man that, hey, yeah, this is what happens when you run for elected office. You're going to get these types of criticisms. You got to suck it up. But with Kamala, though, oh, no, you can't attack her. She must be protected at all costs. So, again, I'm trying to figure out how this is supposed to work. If women really want equal opportunities, equal rights, they want to be in the same positions of power as men, why is it they don't want to be held to the same standards as men? Doesn't make any sense. But again, this is what you have here. A woman that's supposed to be so strong. Why is it that you guys are making her seem like she's so weak, right? Because that's what's happening here. Because a so-called strong woman would not need people boohoo whining and crying about people mispronouncing her name. The fact that you got these people that are so upset with any criticism of Kamala Harris tells you how weak she actually is. And once she gets exposed, she's going to fold like a wet paper bag. There's no doubt in my mind. That's how weak she is. And they all know it. This is why they're doing this.
So, Ashley, what do you make of this conversation?
Well, look, I think that I do hear some things. I think the cat lady thing was weird. I'm sorry. I don't understand it. And maybe JD Vance should have taken the opportunity to walk that back. But
wow. Again, you know, the cat lady thing was weird. Well, I think it's weird how you guys are defending Kamala Harris, even though she's supposed to be a strong woman, right? You guys are getting triggered over the smallest things, any criticism of her, right? I think it's weird when you say that you can't criticize a black woman for being incompetent, right? Again, I think it's weird that you people get offended by every little thing that anybody says about a so-called black woman, right? I think that a lot of things that Democrats do is weird if they want to get into this conversation about weirdness. But again, the reason why they want to have the conversation is because they don't want to talk about policy, right? So again, as you saw, this guy criticizing Kamala on policy, substantive criticisms, and this guy, Bakari Sellers, he deflects and he gets triggered by the dude mispronouncing Kamala's name in order to deflect the conversation away from the actual criticisms of Kamala Harris that CNN and the rest of the mainstream media don't want the world to know. Again, it's fascinating stuff. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.